Welcome to the Enspiring Perspectives podcast, where meaningful conversations lead to meaningful change. Presented by Enspire Consulting Group, this podcast explores the intersection of education, mental health, leadership, and community through honest conversations with experts, practitioners, and changemakers. Whether you're an educator, clinician, parent, leader, or simply passionate about making a difference, each episode is designed to provide practical insights, thoughtful discussion, and perspectives that inform, empower, and inspire. Making a difference is what drives us to create change in our communities. Because every perspective has the power to create change. Now, here's your host, Dr. Frank Edwards.
Welcome to Inspiring Perspectives. I'm your host, Dr. Frank Edwards, founder and CEO of Enspire Consulting Group. First of all, thank you for joining us. Whether you're listening in your car, at work, on a walk, or pretending you're working, I appreciate you listening and spending time with us today. The podcast has been something I've wanted to create for a very long time because every day I have conversations that I wish more people could hear. Conversations about mental health, education, leadership, parenting, relationships, entrepreneurship, and just challenges that we face every day trying to balance life. So I finally stopped saying one day we'll start this podcast and decided today is going to be that day. So why Inspiring Perspectives? Why name it that? People often ask me about the name Inspire. Right. And so I want to give just some background as to what that means. So on the surface, it's a play on words from the term inspire. But the E also comes from my last name. And I wanted the organization to carry a piece of who I am without making it about me. All right. The deeper meaning, though, comes from my mother. My mother raised my sister and I with an unwavering belief that education was our way out. We didn't grow up with a lot. We came from a very humble beginning, and she constantly reminded us that while she didn't give us a lot of wealth, she could make sure we understood the value of learning, hard work, and opportunity. She believed that no one could take a person's education away from them. She taught us that knowledge opened doors, that circumstances oftentimes tried to keep closed. As I got older, I realized she wasn't just talking about earning degrees. She was talking about teaching us about hope, resilience, and creating opportunities where none seem to exist. That's why Inspire exists today. Education has always been the heart of who we are, and over time, we also recognize that education and mental health are deeply connected, are interchangeable. A person can't always reach their full potential academically if they're struggling emotionally, and they can't always thrive emotionally without opportunities to learn and grow. So the name Inspire represents more than a company. It represents a legacy. It represents and honors my mother's belief that education changes lives. It reflects the values that shapes me as an Edwards, and it embodies our commitment to inspiring people, strengthening communities, and helping others create opportunities that can change their course of their lives forever. So that's a little background as to Inspire and why our podcast now is Inspiring Perspectives. But here at Inspire, again, we believe that sometimes people don't need more information. They need a different perspective, okay? A new way to look at a problem, a new way to think about themselves, a new way to understand someone else. That's where change begins, right? So this podcast isn't about having all the answers. It's about having meaningful conversations that makes us think differently, all right? Just a little background of who I am. So for those who don't know me, my name is Dr. Edwards. I am a psychologist by degree. I am a school psychologist by training. I am an entrepreneur by passion and someone who has spent years and years working with children, families, educators, therapists, school leaders, and communities. I've seen students overcome incredible obstacles. I've worked with families who, during some of their most difficult moments, we've seen both successes as well as just overcoming obstacles. I've built businesses, I've made mistakes, but I've also had successes. And through it all, I've learned that every person has a story worth hearing. And believe me, After almost 3 decades, yes, 3 decades in psychology and education, I've collected enough stories to write several books. But don't worry, I'll protect everyone's identity. But some of these stories are going to make you laugh. Some of these stories may even make you cry. And a few will probably leave you shaking your head, wondering, did that really happen? Because there are many things that are happening in this world. And it is my intention through this podcast to bring information again to have our audience look at things from a different perspective. Right. So, why this podcast? I didn't start this podcast because the world needed another podcast. Because let's be honest, there's probably like 450,000 podcasts that started today. Right. So, I started this one because I really think that we spend too much time talking about each other and not enough time learning from each other. I want this to be a place where educators learn from clinicians. I want, parents to learn from teachers and business leaders to learn from mental health professionals. And to be honest, I want students to have a voice, community leaders to have a voice. And sometimes, we'll just have conversations that hopefully make us laugh because sometimes life is already serious enough. What you can expect, and I think I talked about this, but every episode won't sound the same. Some episodes will feature guests who are doing an amazing job in their specific careers or perspective fields and working in education and things like that. Others will focus on mental health. We'll talk about autism. I mean, that's a big thing that's happening right now. We'll talk about ADHD. We'll talk about disabilities. We'll talk about leadership and different forms of leadership. We'll talk about school systems and how do you navigate that from a parent perspective, from an educator's perspective. We'll talk about businesses. How do you start a business? What do you need to be successful in businesses? Community impact. What are you doing in your communities? How can you support your communities, whether it be volunteering, whether it be partnering with your community leaders and things like that? And sometimes we'll tackle difficult conversations that people are afraid to have. The goal is not controversy, right? The goal is clarity. And that's what we're bringing here at Inspiring Perspective, clarity into the things that we're experiencing in the field of education, mental health, in the home, in the communities, and wherever you are. Why now? I've reached a point in my career where I realized that success isn't measured only by numbers of clients we serve or the bottom line or anything like that. Truly, it's measured by the number of lives we impact. In one conversation, if I can have a conversation that helps a parent better understand their child, or if one educator leaves feeling encouraged, or if one entrepreneur hears something that has changed how they lead or the practices in which they're implementing in their company, then this podcast has already done or is doing what it was created to do. Looking ahead in future episodes, again, and I think I talked about this, you'll hear from psychologists, therapists, educators, and a myriad of people. And one of the things that we're going to do here is we're not going to hold back from those difficult questions, or we're not going to hold back from those conversations that oftentimes are in closed doors. We're going to have difficult conversations about difficult topics, and we're going to be transparent, and you're going to understand walking away what truly goes on behind the scenes, specifically in schools, mental health position, mental health community offices, hospitals, things like that. All right. We're going to celebrate victories as well here. We're going to challenge ideas, and hopefully we're going to all grow together. I want to thank you for making Inspiring Perspectives a part of your day. In today's conversation, and if it resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who you believe would benefit from this. All right. Join our movement as we continue to share information, share ideas, laugh, cry, and all of those things on our virtual journey. Remember, sometimes changes in your life doesn't begin with changes from your circumstances. Sometimes it begins by changing your perspective. I'm Dr. Frank Edwards. Thank you for listening. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Inspiring Perspectives podcast, brought to you by Enspire Consulting Group. Follow us for more conversations that empower individuals, strengthen families, and support communities. Until next time, take care and remember to keep inspiring positive change.